Hey. Welcome to another episode of This Shit's Hard podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Biscuits.
And I'm Jen, aka Rumble Bum. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome back. Today's episode is all about the shade thrown on mothers.
My specialty.
This is something, unfortunately, that Rumble knows way too much about, to the point where we have enough content to dedicate an entire episode to that very fact.
Yes.
Now you might be wondering, who throws shade on mothers?
Mothers. Other mothers. It's mainly women, like I was saying. By the way, Nicole and I are sitting right next to each other.
Hi.
But yeah, ooh, look at that.
Wow.
Oh, no boogers. We're clear.
Thank you.
So I believe that we were one of the other episodes that we had recorded. I forget exactly which one it was, but we had gotten a lot of comments. I think on maybe a comment that I had made about mothers. I think it was the episode that you and I did together. So the other episode that Nicole and I did together, just us. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. It's a good episode, kind of about Nicole's life, my life. But I think I said something about mothers getting thrown shade whenever we do something that's outside of mothering. Imagine that. And so I got quite a few DMs from other mothers who were like, oh my God, yes, like it's crazy. I feel the same way. But mostly the comments come from other mothers or women. Men usually don't give a shit what mothers are doing. Some might, some could be, I would not say that, because some men can be very controlling and don't. So that's, that's a whole other topic as well.
Or maybe they do care just because they care.
Or maybe they care because they care. But if they care because they care about the person, about the mother, then they wouldn't so much care what they're doing. Okay. As in, like, and let me just say this first for all the dum-dums out there, because there are dum-dums.
Our listeners aren't dum-dums. They're the smartest.
They're the smartest. But if someone stumbles across this, we are not talking about not caring about your children. We are not talking about being completely irresponsible. That is far outside of the realm that we're talking about. We're not talking about abandoning children, none of that. So I just have to say that, because
someone will ask
and be like, well, we're going to talk about, like, if you don't have kids, if you're not going to be a mom. Like, that's how I imagine internet trolls.
It's good. Are they cute and pink like that?
They're cute and pink. No, they're not cute and pink, because I love pink. But they go like this. Yeah, got him with my comment. I'll show you. Anyways, disclaimer, not what we're talking about.
Right. What we're talking about is, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are not living the life that they want to live. So they see other people, in this case, Jen, because that's our content that we have access to. This is our data point.
Right.
But they see other people who are living a life that they desire to have, or that feels like authentic or right for them. And for whatever reason, they haven't been able to set that up or organize that for themselves. And then that's where you get, all of those things that happen, the jealousy, the comments, the unhealthy desire, which, falls right in line with social media these days.
Well, yes, the comparison thing.
Right.
Comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And we all do it. Every single one of us do it. There's a way to, I think, control it and do it less. But, if you say you don't compare yourself on social media, that's a lie. Because
right.
Even just subconsciously, I think your brain, if you're scrolling, passing thoughts of comparison come.
Mm-hmm. And just to add some context for the topic of this episode and how it kind of came to be so important that we decided to address it with an entire episode, is that Jen, and I'm not going to speak for she's sitting right here, so she can speak for herself, but Jen is out here trying very hard to live her very best life. And that is something that you have to consciously make decisions about every day. It's not something that you can just, you have to make tough choices regardless. And I will let Jen get into the very specific nature of how she's set up her calendar and schedule based on her life happenings. But people see probably 20% of other people's lives.
If that really.
Right.
If that really.
If that. But that, let's just call it 15% of Jen's life is basically comprises 100% of what she puts on social media. So people are out here thinking that all she is doing is leaving her kid at home, probably unattended in their mind.
With my dog.
The dog is the babysitter.
With Samuel L. Jackson.
People are literally sending her comments about how much she's traveling, which a lot of people love that. That's great. Good for you. How much she's traveling, how much she's not with her family, how much she's with her friends, how much she's going out and living her best life. And again, how can you do all of this? You're a mother.
Right.
So our position is, just because you're a mother doesn't mean you can't do anything else that you want to do. Actually, we're challenging people to do all of it.
We are. And that's a hard challenge. I get it. It's a very hard challenge because society, as much as we want to say not society has set up, the patriarchy, if you will, has set up from kind of the beginning of this. You're a woman, you're a mother, it's not that long ago, the expectations, back in whenever, what is it, like the 50s or whatever, when the picturesque was of the mother at home, and that's what she did. You don't go to college, you get married, you have kids. I think obviously society has changed, that it's evolved, that we're still evolving. But yes, though that idea that once you have a child, now your role is mother, and
that's it.
And that's it. Now, not to say that there are mothers, because everybody's different. There are women who have children and they want to stay home. They want to be stay-at-home moms, and they're perfectly content and happy. And that's amazing. Like for you as a woman, if that's your goal and your dream and you're living that as your dream, props to you. That's amazing. What I've come across is some women who thought that that's what they wanted to do, ended up having kids, and then were like, holy shit, I don't want to do this, as in not have kids, but like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Because sorry, no matter what you say, stay-at-home mom is the toughest job in the whole world. It is hard. It is terrible. It is crazy. It is not rewarding. It is also beautiful. It is your life's work. You are raising a human to be a good human. It is unforgiving. It is all of those things in one. But yeah, some women, until you have a child, you have an idea, right? You only have an idea of what it is. That's why women who are mothers are driven crazy by when people go, when I'm a mom, I wouldn't let my kid do this. Oh, really, Susan? Really?
Which is also why I'm going to speak a lot less on this episode, because if you don't know, now you know, I do not have children yet.
Yes. Have a child, and then we'll come back and join the circle.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut for the most part.
Well, she's a lot of talk. You have a niece, you have a nephew, you're around them quite a bit.
Thank you.
So you do see that lifestyle. But until you actually, one comes out of you're cut open, you have one, or one comes out the vagine. You don't know what you're actually going to do. You don't know what you're actually going to feel. You don't know if you're going to have postpartum depression. You don't know if, let's talk about the stigma of, oh my God, I don't even feel bonded with my child, because that's another whole issue. Let's talk about that women don't want to say out loud, I hate being a mother. That is also a thing. But you'll get crucified if you say that, even though the majority of women, these thoughts have gone through their heads before. Like, oh my fuck, what did I just do? I had a life. I was single. I was doing things, I was working, I was with my partner, whoever that may be, married, not married, whatever. And then you're all of a sudden you have a tiny human that you have to raise with no instructions. So let's just go there first.
And that tiny human becomes your boss because you can't ignore the boss.
You can't ignore the boss. You got to feed the boss. You got to make sure the boss is sheltered. You have to teach the boss life lessons and kindness and how to be a human functioning in society. So not to get off track, but those are clearly tons of topics that we could go off of just
well, another topic that I worry about personally is like body transformation.
Oh, that's a whole.
I mean, I don't know, but I think a lot of women that I've spoken to who are just becoming pregnant or, new moms are upset kind of about, the body transformation that takes place. And
it's a lot, especially if you're in the fitness. Let's just say that. Especially if you're in the fitness world,
body dysmorphia.
Industry, body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
I definitely would identify with that. I feel like a lot of women in fitness and CrossFit deal with body dysmorphia. Let's just be honest. And so, yes, it's tough when you then get pregnant and then you're like, oh my God, what's happening to my body? And it changes so much. And it's the whole process is actually very scary because there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees with your birth. There's no guarantees on what your body's going to do or not do. Even though you plan on the best, it's just what happens. So back to the episode that we were on. And so people started questioning, and not a ton of people, but I did get questions. And some of the questions I think are really weren't to be bitchy. I think some of the questions maybe were actual wondering.
Yeah, because like, how'd you do it? Right. I want to do it for myself.
Right. And I think that women unfortunately, some women, yes, I think it's them. We've all been jealous before. I think a lot of, we all know that a lot of hateful things and comments stem out of jealousy because it's like, well, how is she doing that? She's a mom. What are you doing? And then so, automatically your brain just wants to hate on that person instead of trying to understand the person, trying to understand that not everybody's the same, trying to understand that lifestyles aren't the same. Your head goes to, oh, she's a bad mom. That's exactly what it just must sum up to, is that she's a bad mom. She's not being with her kid. And this also goes for working women too. And I am a working woman. But there's the whole mom guilt's a whole nother subject. Mom guilt. Do I stay home or do I go to work? I stay home. I hate being at home. I want to work. I go to work. I fucking hate being at work and I feel guilty because I want to be at home because I'm not spending it. You are literally damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
And you're also going to get judged on both ends of that spectrum.
Exactly. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
By women who are like, oh, you're staying at home with your kid. Okay, well, you don't know anything about anything. And then there's that attitude. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are stay-at-home moms who's like, how could you go to work and leave your kid? Let's not even throw in society's lower class, middle class, upper class, because you're going to throw that in there. And then some moms, they have no choice. They have to go to work. They have to pay for daycare because they are single moms and they have it shit on both ends, struggling to pay for daycare so they can work to pay for their child. So class, let's throw that in there too. There is just so many dynamics to motherhood, and I don't think there is one way to do it correctly. I think everyone's in a completely different situation. No matter if you're married, if you're single, if you have a partner, every situation is different. And I think that we should zoom out and look at the bigger picture of what it means to be a mom and what it means to be a mom for you. And I'm finally also understanding that, say, Aria, as my daughter, she's going to be a woman. I personally do not want her growing up to think that her role is to be a mother and or a wife or a partner, whatever route she chooses to go. But I want her to see that it is okay for her to not be a mother, to not be a wife, to have a career, to be a mother, to be a wife, to not have a career. Aria, and if you're a mother, your children are not going to be around forever. And the time goes by like this. I can attest to that. The time is a flash in the pan. She's already just turned 5. She's not going to be around forever, hopefully, as in like living with you forever. The goal is to send out your kids into the world to be functioning adults who don't have to rely on you. And you can watch from the sidelines and you can let them live their own lives. And yes, be a part of their lives, but also then you know who you are as a person when they're gone, and you have other things popping off in your life. Not just, oh my God, I'm pouring everything into my kids. Because then I think that also, and you can interrupt me whenever, that also women can become extremely resentful if you're not doing things for yourself. Women, you can become extremely resentful. You can be resentful towards your partner because your partner's out and your partner's working and you're not, or he's or she is doing the things that you want to do and you're not, and you don't speak up about it. These are things that have to be talked about. But you don't want to be one of those people when your kid goes off to college or gets married or whatever they do, goes out into the world, and then you're like, what do I do now? Where have I been this whole life? Who am I? Another huge topic.
Losing your identity.
Losing your identity. And that happens to all moms, no matter what, especially when you have a newborn and you're like, who am I now? What am I supposed to, I'm a cow. All I'm doing is feeding.
Ashley said that to me the other day.
Yeah, you're a cow. Like every 2 hours, like just on the boob or bottle feeding, all you're doing is keeping someone alive, and things change overnight, and it's a huge shock. And every mother knows this. Yeah. Am I talking anyone into not having kids? Because I feel like that's what's happening. Nicole, do you still want to have kids?
This is great. Steven's listening to this and he's literally sweating. This is awesome.
Listen, this is what I tell my friends. I feel like I am a realist, right?
Which we appreciate.
Yes. And so I am not the mom who is like, motherhood is, and I don't think any mother. And
it was the most beautiful journey. It was for some people. Yes, it really was.
For some people, yes. But I am the realist. And when my friends who have never gotten pregnant before, I will ask now, do you want to know like real postpartum?
Oh.
Because I've had so many women say, I didn't know. Like, we just don't want to talk about it. And I get it. We don't want to scare women either, but we have to be like real. I wish I would have known, like, you're going to be wearing a diaper and bleeding out your vagina and leaking and hair falling out and stitches. And yeah, you're a fucking mess. Your body just went through a major trauma.
Right.
And then we're expected get back on it, get back to work.
Yeah. That's the other thing about society that, I think, and I've even been guilty of it myself, just, like rolling my eyes in the corporate world with some of the quote from my perspective, excuses that moms would roll up with, like, oh, sorry, I'm late. I had XYZ, always related to their children. I have to leave early today, always related to their children. And I was sitting there as a single person without children, like, well,
sure,
I would like to come in late or leave early.
Sure.
But I have a cat, so I'm not sure if that's going to work for me.
Trust, those women would rather
right.
be there on time and not have to leave early and be doing nothing than trying to probably scramble to organize and then feel so horrific and stressed out when they have to say, I can't get anyone to do this for me. I'm so sorry.
Right.
It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of...
Do you feel like you're disappointing people all the time?
Yes.
Yeah, that's hard. And then getting back to, and we might change the name of this episode just to purely like motherhood. This shit's hard. Yeah. Also, they're going to throw shade at you at some point. But just the process of every phase is different. And then there's like a new kind of borderline traumatic experience with that, because you can't fully protect your child. They're
Absolutely.
from everything. You can't.
No.
You can't even protect them really from the things you do subconsciously, which is probably a whole other discussion in and of itself. When we talk about, psychological effects of like how children, grow up, there are great resources out there that talk about, the stress level in a woman's womb directly correlates to not only the birth safety of the child or children, but also the first like developmental months, like months 2 through 5, particularly, how that stress correlates to how they are formed and forming. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, it definitely is. When you read all of that, it can be kind of scary, like, because there are studies that say, when you're pregnant, say if you like have depression or you're going through whatever, that it can affect the baby as well, which is pretty crazy, but also makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll tell you, since people are so curious as to why I travel all the time currently, or can travel all the time. Like Nicole said, all of us, some of you don't post stories on your Instagram at all. So nobody knows your personal life. But even when you post a lot, sometimes I post a lot of stories, sometimes I post 5. Lately, I'm rolling with the memes. But so really my personal life, right? Say it's 5 stories out of my 15 for the day, and say 5 are I'm actually in the story in the grand scheme of things, and they're 20 to 30-second blips. Think about it. Right. You're seeing maybe 2 minutes, maybe, of somebody's life in a day.
Right.
Maybe. So yes, I am divorced. And so we have Ari and we have her 50-50, and not that it's anybody's business. But I do share a lot, and I don't share a lot. There's a lot that people probably would be shocked about that I keep very personal to myself. I keep it in my space. So as much as you think that you know what's going on in someone's life, let me preference, even Nicole, let me preference it with, you absolutely do not. So keep that in mind when you are on social media. I know we try to keep that in mind. Sometimes it's very hard because, especially when you're following somebody who has, like, say, Kels, right? Who has so many followers, and you watch her all the time, and you're watching somebody like that all the time. And then it's that weird thing with social media where you do feel like you know them, right? But we don't. Okay. So keep that in mind. So
P.S. Rumble mentioned Kels because we're actually sitting in her home right now.
That's why.
She's not here because she's out games training.
Right.
Because y'all think that's fun. That is not.
No.
That is also not a job I want.
Absolutely not.
This woman, her job is to move her body, push things, pull things, pick up things, and eat all of the things.
Eat all and sleep. That's it.
But that's why Jen mentioned Kels as an example.
Yes.
And also because she has a strong social media following, and a lot of our viewers and listeners probably, at least at the very least, have heard of her.
Yes.
So
yes. Sorry. Kelsey Keel. Games athlete Kelsey Keel. And because I know a lot of people, just because we're all, Nicole and I are close with her, she has that thing where she's got like quite a few people who think that they like are besties with her just because of social media. So social media, it's weird, it's great, it's beautiful, it's horrible.
All of those things.
All of those things. So anyways, I travel so much because I am 50-50, right? I don't work in an office. I am very blessed. I work for Hungry Fitness. And I, chesty, always chesty. And I work from wherever I want. So I'm on a computer. Very blessed to be able to do that. And I realize that a lot of women do not have that option, that they have to go to work, they have to go in an office, and or they have to be a stay-at-home mom because their partner is a provider and that's what they've chosen. So I completely understand that as well. So I am blessed enough to be able to work from wherever. I have Aria 50-50. And it's not a 50-50 where I have her like for months at a time and then he has her for months at a time. We are on and off like most people, and we rotate every week. So that being said, I am free to go wherever I want
in your week off.
In my week off. And and I decide to go wherever I want because I like to travel. I'm able to travel. It doesn't mean it's not chaotic. It doesn't mean currently, since we're going there.
It's great.
Currently.
People do want to know.
And I'm slightly homeless. Okay. That's also slightly homeless. Okay. That's chaotic. Do I want a house? Sure. Do I not want to couch surf? Sure.
This is just where we're at. This shit is hard.
Do I not want to end up living with my mom? Sure. Are there any sugar daddies out there? I'm kidding. I couldn't do.
No, she's kidding. She's talking about sugar mamas. Any sugar mamas?
I'll take a sugar mama. For sure.
Look how pretty she looks in pink. It's good.
Anyways.
So that is why you have the, time and the space and capacity that you do to do the things that you do.
To do the things that I do. And honestly, it's not an ideal situation either. Like, okay. And the reason I say I'm part homeless is because my ex and I have still been living in the same house. So, and we do the thing, I know it's very rare, but people do it, where we go in and out instead of Aria. So Aria stays put the whole entire time. She has a room. She is familiar with her surroundings. When it's my week, I go back and I stay there. When it's his week, he goes back and he stays there. Soon that will be coming to an end. So I will be relocating. Who wants to have me? And possibly a 5-year-old.
Keeks. We're moving in.
But you know what? Let me say this too while we're here, and this is totally off topic. The way my friends love me, and I don't want to cry. That's why I'm closing my eyes like a weirdo right now. I am going to cry.
Your friends do love you.
Literally, I have been people have offered me like to live with them. And that's crazy to me. I mean, I would open up my home to my close friends too.
That's why they offered.
So I get it.
But that's why they offered, because they know that you
Nicole would do that. Basically was living with her for a little bit, and now Keeks, her mom, I call her mom, I call her Keeks. She would let me come stay anytime. Kels has been like, just come live with me. Like Mander, like, Carla,
yes,
literally have offered their homes to me. And that's like,
that's so nice.
It's so nice, but it's like beyond, like, it's like, I don't know. It's just love to me.
Yeah.
And that's how I know that this world, as shitty as it can be, and it is, that as long as you have like people around you supporting you, close friends, as a mother, I know I would never be homeless.
No, nor you or
yes, or anybody in my family,
right,
would be homeless. So yeah, now I lost my train of thought with crying. So there's that.
Well, we like to go, our topics like to go on tangents like this. This is basically how every conversation goes anyway. But I think that the theme here is that motherhood is hard. So just say that. Divorce is hard. It doesn't matter whether you are married to a man or a woman. It doesn't matter how long you are married to them. That is an emotional connection that has then somehow either broken or changed, the pattern changed, or it's moving in a different direction, and one that is opposite of the direction that you are moving in. And these things are all hard.
Yeah. And things that you don't plan. You don't plan.
Right. Right, of course. No one's going to get engaged and then married with the idea that at some point, like, yep, can't wait for our 5-year divorce to happen.
Right.
Like no one does that with open eyes and ears and heart. So yeah, it's hard. And I think that, since we are talking about like the pressure on moms and the kind of shade that has been thrown to moms, I get it. I get it because it's really hard. There are so many people who unfortunately find themselves in a place that they don't want to be in. And then add to it financial pressure, add to it the pressure to sustain a life or more than one life. And then add to it, you got Jen over here gallivanting all over the world and she's in Egypt and who's watching your kid?
Yeah. Who's watching your kid? Who's like.
So I get it.
I get it. So I asked one of my friends, I think further down the line, we could probably do another episode, even kind of like a roundtable topic, with other women, with other mothers from different backgrounds. But I know quite a few single mothers. And so I asked one of my friends, hey, can you just give me like a brief synopsis of your experience of motherhood / sisterhood with mothers / being a single mother? So I'm just going to read it here. Okay. She said, for starters, I'm sure you understand everyone experiences motherhood differently. So it has been challenging finding sisterhood or support, even in mom communities, because they disagree with how you are experiencing motherhood for yourself. And I think that's a great point that she makes, because just like I feel like even outside of motherhood that happens, like everyone thinks you should be experiencing what they're experiencing from their point of view,
or do it this way because this is how I do it.
Oh yeah, so much of that. Right. You got the granola moms, got the homeschooling moms.
That's a hard job.
You got the crafty moms. Okay, so just because for them it's been a perfect, joyful experience, which is a lie. There is no perfect, and they're lying. Let's get that out of the way. Joyful experience doesn't mean it's not taxing on another mother. Especially as a single working mom, the societal expectations there are for moms like me are horrendous. If I work too much to keep us afloat, I'm not a good mom and I'm missing out. If I work too little, I'm not working hard enough. Even from my own mother, generational trauma at its finest. God forbid I prioritize myself as a woman or individual outside of motherhood. No matter if I get one night off a month, that's one night too many. And that's what she said. She said that was a lot, but there's so many, many things, like we've said. So that's many, horrible. Many things. So this is from my friend who is a single mother. And she brings up a great point, generational trauma. Then you have, I would say, even my mom, and I can say this because I was tell her not to listen to it. She won't listen.
She's not going to listen.
She's not going to listen.
She doesn't even like the name of our podcast because it has a bad word in it.
But I love my mother. I
love her.
She's a great mom. But generationally, she was raised in a completely different way. She doesn't understand why I travel so much. She thinks that even on my weeks off, I should just stay put. What are you doing with friends? God forbid you have friends. Like, what are you doing with friends? You're supposed to be like a hermit.
Friends.
Be a hermit. Stay in your cave. But that's her talking from her experience, because when my brother and I were younger, my dad traveled all the time, literally for weeks at a time. So my mom, and they had one car. My mom was literally, and my dad drove to wherever he was going all the time. My mom was stuck in a tiny apartment with 2 kids for weeks on end. She would literally stroller us down to the one strip mall every single day just to get out of the freaking house. I would lose my mind. So for her, that's coming from her space. So different. And that's what she knows. Yeah. And so I just smile and nod. I respect my mother. I try to just say, hey, this is not, and she's actually come a long way. This is how I choose to live. I am still a good mother, which is hard we have to, as mothers, have to tell ourselves that, because it's very hard to believe sometimes that you're a good mother, because you're always feeling guilty about something. So sometimes I really have to step back and be like, okay, yes, I am a good mother. Yes, I am there. Yes, I am close. Yes, I do obviously spend time with my family. Obviously, I just choose to keep those moments private. And actually, more now, I don't really put any of my family on the gram.
Yeah. So if you're her green people, you're seeing a little bit, maybe 5% more of her life.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe.
5% more. Shout out green people. But I just like to stay very private about that, and so I understand then that people, and it's not my responsibility to make you understand, and it's not your responsibility as a mother to make other people understand your lifestyle.
Thank you for saying that. I love the, very prevalent quote that what other people think of you is not your business. And there's a lot of, I think, comfort in that, kind of, and it is unknown, and you have to just be okay with it. But the more that we worry about what other people think, the more we go down this, rabbit hole, and it's only made worse when you have the additional responsibility of a child or children. And so I guess what we're saying here is, moms, you're doing a great job. You also have the power within you to start making choices or continue making choices for yourself, for your life, because you'll get to a point in your children's lives where they're watching, they're seeing, they're observing, and they know. They know if you're living a life that's making you happy or not.
That's right. And I think that in order to be a good mom, for me, now I will say I'm a very free spirited person. I think I am. I would consider myself a kind of a more of a free spirit. Just I'm very much one of those people who I get very antsy if I'm in one place for too long. I am one of those people. I'm not a planner. Terrible at planning. I'm terrible at organization. Um, but I will, if you call me and say, come to New York tomorrow, absolutely. I will pack up my stuff and I'll go. Like, that's how I am. Like, I'm very just like, sure, what are we doing? Sure, where are we going? And I understand that some people are not like that and they have to be planned out and all of that. But
yes, you probably just gave at least 2% of the people hives.
yeah, probably. Yes.
Mary.
Mary, yes. I am.
Who has everything in an Excel spreadsheet.
I am not a spreadsheet person. I am not, I don't want it. I don't want to know it. Yes, I do for work. But other than that, nothing is going on a spreadsheet. Nothing. Okay. I am flying by the seat of my pants here. But you have to find something that brings you joy in motherhood, because if not, like I said earlier, you're going to start getting angry, and you're going to start getting angry at the wrong people, and you're going to hold resentment, and that resentment is going to come out to your children. That anger, if you're having a bad day, if your kid is being a kid, you'll end up taking it out on them, because they're the ones who are there. They're the ones who you're with 24/7. So it's making the choice to choose yourself, and to know that it's okay to choose yourself, whatever that is. If it's just scheduling even one day a week in where you're like, if you're a stay-at-home mom, I'm going to take off every single Tuesday and go do something for myself. If you can't, some women can't even afford that. I'm going to take off an hour or two on a day, and then I'm going to go do something for myself. Everyone has to do that. I feel, even if you don't have kids and you're in corporate world and you're working 24/7, you will break down at some point. There is a breaking point for everybody. So it's either you continue the way you're continuing, and you're constantly pushing down your needs, you're constantly pushing down your wants, and at some point it's there's going to be a breaking point. And I have found, even though yes, it's chaotic, um, but I found a lot of also freedom in, okay, I'm going to start actually choosing things for me and what I want to do, while still obviously being a responsible, loving parent. And it makes me a better parent. And it helps Aria, like Nicole was saying, your kids to see, okay, this is not my mom's whole life.
They're so smart, kids, and I hope it's okay that I say this to our audience, but Ari's so smart. Jen said to her one time, "This isn't your fault." And she said, "Oh, I know."
Yeah.
She said it's your and daddy's fault.
Yes. When we were talking about the divorce to Aria in 5-year-old terms, yes, we were like, you do the whole thing. We're like, this isn't your fault. She looked at me. Yeah, she literally looked at us and goes, this isn't my fault. She goes, it's your fault. And I was like, bitch.
She's so smart.
But I was like, you're correct. It is my fault. And she goes, it's not daddy's fault. Like, no, she goes, and it's not my fault. It's daddy's fault. It's you guys' fault. Sure is.
To the point that
kids
they know
whether you think they know or not. They can feel, I believe, in energy so much. Kids can feel energy way more than adults because they are not filtered through life yet.
Right, because their intuition is high. It hasn't been watered down by other people's ideas that you don't even want, but they're like being force fed to you.
Yeah, other people's ideas, opinions, etc.
Right,
so
right.
You have to do something that's choosing for you as well. And there's so much more, obviously, that we can talk about. So motherhood this shit is hard. This shit is complicated. This shit is scary and also beautiful.
So my takeaway from this, as a non-mother, I have so much respect for moms, which is why have spoken significantly less than I usually speak. My takeaway is to be kind, but first and foremost, be kind to yourself. Take the time to sit with yourself and think about what you want. And it's okay if you realize that you've lived the first year, 3 years, 5 years of motherhood not getting what you want. You can start now in trying to get what you want. You don't have to lose that time because you have a lot more time coming up.
Yep.
What about you? What's a good takeaway from your perspective? Because you have a lot more context to offer than I do.
Well, like I just said, just remember, be kind to other mothers, because the most hate comes from other mothers and women. Understand that, in any context, not everybody's experience is your experience. And I have to remember that. I'm talking to myself as well. You don't have to travel if you don't want to travel. You can be a stay-at-home mom if you want to be a stay-at-home mom. And if you're really happy with that, then you're really happy with that. So just understand that your perspective is your perspective. And that you don't have to also talk anybody into your perspective. And that you should be open-minded to other women's and mothers' lifestyles, and not be constantly questioning, but question yourself. And are you happy? Are you feeling joy in your motherhood experience?
I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you. I would also add to that, I think both Jen and I feel the same way. We'd like to give a lot of credit to the people who have less resources.
Yes.
Even in not just financial, which is a huge one, but also just in partnership. If you don't have a partner and you're doing this as a single mom, we get it.
That's beyond my pay grade as well, because I don't. Yeah, that is also a whole nother topic. But yes, so much love, so much props to women who are doing it legit on their own. No partner, no financial resources from a partner. That shit is beyond hard. And we understand that those circumstances are completely different and can be completely out of your control.
These are also the people who are so busy and stressed out, they probably don't even have time to listen to this episode.
Correct. Yeah,
absolutely. But if you are listening to this episode and you are friends with or have in your periphery even a single mom who is doing it, and she's probably struggling, just be kind.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Even reach out one day and say, hey, I think you're doing an amazing job. You'll be surprised how shocked she will be at someone saying that.
Hmm. Yeah, because a lot of times you're so just like narrow focused on and zoomed in on what you're doing, you barely even see what's happening around you. So I think that sharing that kind of feedback and constructive like support is really helpful. Words are so powerful.
The most powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's it for us right now.